So guys, I'm pretty speechless right now. Rockstar just revealed the Red Dead Redemption 2 teaser trailer on their YouTube channel, on their Twitch, and on their Newswire site, and it is absolutely incredible. And what I'm going to do for you guys right now is I'm actually going to let it play out in its entirety, and then what we're going to do is we're going to break down some of the things you might not have noticed, and also talk about some of the important details that could give away a lot of information that at a first glance you might not have even have noticed or even have caught. So it's a pretty short trailer, but we're going to play it right now, and then when it's over, we'll come back and we'll sort of break everything down. So here's the trailer. Hope you enjoy.
Listen to me. When the time comes, you gotta run and don't look back. This is over.
So wow, like I said, that was absolutely incredible. And before we really break anything down, I just want to say how beautiful this game looks. That's really the first thing that I noticed of the entire trailer is it looked absolutely stunning and incredible. Obviously, we're going to break down really every shot here in detail, but it looked amazing. Obviously, it's using the Rage engine. And what's crazy about this is this was captured on a PlayStation 4. So even though Rockstar has not announced this game for PC, this was captured on PlayStation 4, which means the graphics are going to look amazing in this game. And that's probably what's got me the most excited. But I do know it is just a reveal trailer, so I can't get too overly hyped. And that's another complaint that I heard from a lot of people is that, you know, wow, it's so short. There wasn't anything revealed. Well, you got to keep in mind that this game is likely a year, if possibly more, away from releasing, which means there's going to be more trailers that are going to be released. There's going to be more information. Red Dead Redemption had like 5 or 6 total trailers before it came out. So like I said, we just got to be patient. I know everyone's really excited and hyped for this, but just remain patient. This was just the reveal teaser trailer, so it was meant to not give away everything. So let's look at this first scene right here. We can see our one lone character riding a horse. He is coming up from the sunrise over this hill. And when I originally saw this, it reminded me of kind of the cover art that they've been teasing a little bit right now with the guy standing in the sunset, kind of walking over the hill. Now I know that this individual is on a horse, but I would imagine, and we don't know who this character is right there, I would imagine this is our protagonist. I mean, there's obviously a significance of him or her, I don't know who that could be, riding alone and riding either off or from the sunset. So yeah, I think that's going to be our protagonist right there, whoever they may be. Definitely Rockstar wanted to put an importance on them. Very first scene of the trailer, they're by themselves. That is a big indication right there. If we look at the background, we've obviously got sprawling hills and trees and what looks to be mountain ranges as well. Like I said, we'll kind of talk about where I think this is going to take place a little bit later on. But that's our first image right here. Let's move on to shot number 2. And this is just absolutely beautiful. You can see this kind of like swampy mountain area with our 2 deer in the kind of foreground. Now, what I notice here is just how awesome this world looks. I mean, to the right, you can see those snowy mountain peaks. To the left, you can obviously see what looks to be some flat land and plains and a lake built in right there. And just the detail in the trees and the mountain ranges. And one thing that's gotten me excited about what I've seen so far is the sheer amount of animals, something that seems to be missing a lot from Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, granted, I know that takes place in a sprawling urban city, but still, I'm really excited about all the animals that look to be coming in this new game, Red Dead Redemption 2. If we move on to our third shot right here, we can once again see the absolute beauty and detail of the world. More animals, obviously, as well. We can see what looks to be a ranch or a farmhouse right there too, and just the way the grass looks, just incredible. Like I said, I was more blown away with the graphics and the presentation really than anything else in this trailer. But beautiful stuff right there. Same thing can be said here. We see another animal that's kind of like sprawling around with the trees, the dense forest. When I saw this, it really did remind me of Rockstar Games' next generation trailer for Grand Theft Auto 5 and how they put an emphasis on making the foliage and forest more dense, more vibrant, more alive. That certainly seems to be the case here, as you can see the sunlight rays beaming through all the trees. So just absolutely beautiful stuff. This shot right here was also really beautiful, as you can kind of see like the marshy swamplands and whatnot. And you can see some of the birds floating off into the sky. Again, it really did show off the diverse terrain and diverse environment that we're going to be seeing. A lot of the other screenshots show like plains, some show mountain ranges, some show valleys and obviously mountains, and this is kind of a swampland, which I think looks so beautiful. And obviously that forest, so dense, so incredible. Really, really pretty stuff right there. Now, this is probably my favorite shot of the entire trailer right here. Is these guys kind of sitting on this like island in this swamp with the campfire going, and the camera is just looking up at the sky, and you can see all the stars. This is something you really don't see today, just due to all the light pollution of the cities that is happening in the world. But obviously in this time period when there wasn't all of that, you would look up in the night sky and just see so much beauty. And obviously it looks like this is going to be the environment at night in Red Dead Redemption 2. And that right there has me so excited just for the amazing graphical potential that could be coming up. This shot right here is pretty cool. Obviously, we can see what looks to be some hunter. He's got himself a horse right next to him, and he's caught himself, obviously, some animal. Now, I wonder if that's how we're going to be bringing back kind of animals that we catch. The ability to almost hunt and then mount your prize to a horse. Again, I'm not sure if that was for a cutscene only or if that's going to be a feature, but once again, you can see the house in the background, the mountains that have the snowy peaks just look absolutely so beautiful. The level of detail here is really, really incredible. Again, if we move on to our next shot here, we can see these individuals in a canoe. Now, I'm hoping that we can actually use the canoe, and it's not like an Assassin's Creed 3 where you can't use the canoes even though they're in the game, because water transportation wasn't really a thing in Red Dead Redemption. So I'm hoping that we can more use that in a more advanced way in Red Dead Redemption 2. That would be extremely cool. A lot of people also missed the dream catcher hanging from the tree. I'm not sure what significance that has, if it is any at all, but that's something a lot of people seem to overlook. Now, this scene right here with the buffalo running away from the train, that is very significant. And I'll tell you why it's significant. Because there was a mission in Red Dead Redemption where you essentially killed off all the buffalo. You could get an achievement for doing that. So what these buffalo mean is that this game is likely going to be a prequel and is not going to be taking place after the events of Red Dead Redemption, but likely the events before. So, like I said, you might have seen this scene and said, oh, that's just buffalo running away from a train. But during Red Dead Redemption, all the buffalo were killed off, meaning that it wouldn't be possible for them to exist after, thus making it likely that it is going to be happening before the events of Red Dead Redemption. So that is extremely cool right there. And obviously, you can see the level of detail in the buffalo and the train and whatnot. So awesome. So I'm really excited about that. Let's move on to this next scene right here. One quick thing I noticed is, honestly, those two guys in that stagecoach, they look like Trevor and Michael from Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, that's probably the fact that I just play way too much Grand Theft Auto 5, but the guy on the right looks like Michael, and the guy on the left really does look like Trevor. So, again, maybe in like a past life, they made an appearance here. I'm really not too sure. But one other thing I noticed from this shot right here is, obviously, this is a general store, and you might not think anything of it. You can buy groceries, dry goods, and whatnot. But what's interesting here is the name, Worth's General Store. Now, this might actually reveal one of the locations of this setting of Red Dead Redemption 2. And I say settings for a reason, as we'll talk about a little bit later. But this could actually be the early city of Fort Worth, Texas. Worth's General Store, Fort Worth, Texas. In fact, if you go on the history of Fort Worth's Wikipedia page, you'll actually see that like the first ever general stores started popping up there. So that's very, very interesting right there. Could that give away one of the locations in Red Dead Redemption 2? I think so as well. Another thing that kind of brought my attention was the pumpkins that were sitting out there that might indicate that this is going to be taking place during the fall or maybe even the winter. Now, again, that's just kind of a guess and something I noticed. Maybe pumpkins were used for more than just the decorations we typically see them today in fall a character and attire. We get another shot right here of what looks to be our lone cowboy or lone outlaw. Again, I'm not sure if this guy is the exact same character that we saw riding in the beginning. He looks to have a similar hat on. Again, very, very hard to tell as that image was so small. But once again, very, very interesting stuff right here. This looks to be probably one of the main characters, or if not the main character that we'll be playing as in game, because once again, Rockstar put a pretty big significance on him being the only character in this shot right here. You can see there's probably going to be an emphasis on herding cattle as well, very similar to the missions we saw in Red Dead Redemption. Let's move on to this next shot right here. We can see it of this individual kind of leaning up against what looks to be like a trailer or a stagecoach of some kind. You can see the weapon he looks to be holding, which is a longer barreled shotgun. Again, I'm not sure if he's just an NPC or if someone that's relatively important, but there were two things in here that I thought were very interesting. Number one was the street light that can actually be seen on the far right. Now, what's important about this street light is it might actually give away what time period we're looking at here. So those are indeed electric street lights, and the first known testing of electric street lights like that happened in 1880. And it actually happened in a city called Wabash, which became the first electrically lighted city in the world. So I'm guessing that's going to give us our time period of where this game is going to be taking place. Because if Red Dead Redemption happened in 1911, I would imagine that it's going to be taking place somewhere between 1880 and that year, 1911. So like I said, that's pretty cool. Kind of gives us a timeline and kind of gives us a city if we consider Fort Worth to be one of the main spots that we're going to be playing in, that being Texas as well. Also, another thing that really blew me away here was just the level of detail on like the dog itself and, the vultures that were tearing apart that body. It's pretty gruesome, but at the same rate, very, very interesting. Now, moving on, we've only got a couple more shots. This one right here was very interesting to me. It's this city that looks to be burning. And honestly, this looks like Plainville from Red Dead Redemption. So again, I don't know if it's a different city or if it's like a 2.0 version of Plainville, but that's what it looked like to me. Obviously, it looks like there's some destruction going on here, gang burnings or whatnot. Kind of reminds me of the McFarlane's farm being burned down. That's kind of the scene that originally went into my head right there. If we move on, we get another look at what I'm going to say is our main character right here. And honestly, I cannot make out who this is. Most of the characters in the game and in the trailer we've seen so far either had their back turned to us or have been wearing masks or balaclavas. So it's been very difficult to make them out. But you can see the style of hat he's wearing. You can see the jacket and what looks to be the repeater rifle that he's holding as well. Again, lighting, not the best here. I would imagine that scene takes place right after him getting off the horse and seeing this town completely being burnt. So I'm sure that has some very significant impact right there. Let's move on to our final shot though. This one, very interesting. We can see our 7 riders right here. Now, you guys know what I've been talking about, how all of them have had their face or their masks on or they've been covered and whatnot. Same thing here. We've got 7 riders, all having different clothing, really hats, but they're all wearing masks, so it's kind of hard to tell who they are. If we kind of zoom in here a little bit, we can see them a little bit better as they all come into frame. Now, once again, this brings up the question, are we going to be able to play as all of these characters, or are we only going to be able to play as the individual in the middle who looks to be the leader of this gang? Now, another thing I noticed is it doesn't look to be any of the characters that we saw on the teaser image that Rockstar provided, so I'm not sure if this is going to be a scenario where you choose the members of your gang, or there's going to be a part in the story where maybe you're not connected with the previous members of Red Dead Redemption, but nonetheless, still really cool. If we zoom in even farther, we can see some of the weapons that are present here, including, obviously, we have a revolver held by many of the members of this gang, what looks to be a repeater. In fact, this one looks to be Henry's repeater as well, and also a double barrel shotgun. The Henry's repeater and some of the other weapons they're holding can even be seen more prominently as we get closer up on the horses themselves. And like I said, just absolutely beautiful and stunning, the level of detail here. I'm not sure who any of these individuals are. Like I said, all of them for the most part have their faces covered, so it's really hard to tell who they are. Now, one other thing I caught was the character on the far right in the yellow looks to be the only female. Now, there has been some debate if this is a female or not, or if that's just a crease in her shirt or his shirt. But it looks like for now, that's at least one female that's going to be riding in our gang. So that is extremely cool. And then obviously they ride off into, I wouldn't really say the sunset, but they ride off into the distance. And once again, this gives us a great view of another what looks to be setting that we're going to be being able to explore in this vast open world game. You can see the plateaus that have been created and the snowy mountains in the background. Just absolutely stunning and absolutely beautiful. And it really does beg the question, where is this going to be taking place? And is that leaked map that we saw from so long ago actually real? So I'll go ahead and put that image on the screen right now. And there's a couple things to me that indicate that, yeah, this might be the real map. Number one, I've already noticed like 3 different locations that look to be identical on this map. So one of them is in the middle. It's called the Heartlands, and Rockstar describes Red Dead Redemption as an epic tale in America's unforgiving heartland. Now, that might be a complete coincidence right there and obviously have nothing to do with it, but that's one thing that stood out to me. Also, you can see towards the north of the map is where we see more of the mountain ranges. Obviously, in Texas, you don't see many mountains, so the fact that this looks to extend even farther than Texas would indicate that, yes, there would be mountains in America's heartland. So that's kind of an indication that, yeah, that map does look pretty interesting. And at the very bottom, you can see some of those windy swamplands that we also saw in the trailer as well. So like I said, I'm not saying that this map is 100% confirmed. Obviously, there are kind of multiple coincidences here that are lining up really, really well. And the fact that we saw individuals in canoes and water. So like I said, I think all the puzzle pieces are starting to come together. I obviously don't want to confirm anything yet, but this map does look very, very interesting and is looking more plausible to be the one we could be seeing in Red Dead Redemption 2. But that's really all the information I have for you guys today and everything I noticed from the Red Dead Redemption 2 reveal trailer. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments section down below. I'd love to hear from you guys there. You guys are much smarter than me and probably picked up on some things that I didn't, so obviously let me know what you guys saw down there. If you did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily videos like this, and hopefully some more Red Dead Redemption 2 content soon. Of course, without the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.